Connections radio show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm glad you've made the connection and are with us today. I'm Laurie Fitz, your host, and the goal of our show is to explore a wide range of topics that challenge us to see ourselves, our community, and the world around us in ways that get us thinking, get us connected, and perhaps inspired or challenged to do just a bit more because we've made that connection. Our topic today is about opportunities at the University of Minnesota for students to return and learn. Have been fascinated by as many folks that I know that are going back to school. It seems to be a really strong trend, and we have with us today someone who can share with us about that, and that's Janelle Erickson. She is Senior Marketing and Recruitment Specialist, and she represents the Masters in Strategic Communication program at the Hubbard School of Journalism and Mass Communications. Welcome, Janelle.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm delighted to have you here. I'm looking forward to discussing graduate education and the work that you're doing to help recruit students. But first, I'd love to have you tell me about how you decided to go back to school.
Yes, I am not only the president, I'm also a client. Is that how that goes?
Yes.
Yes. So my story is that I have a background in creative advertising. That's all I ever wanted to do. And I started out as a copywriter, a junior copywriter, like 20 years ago, worked my way up to creative director. And then a few years ago, I was just kind of looking around at the landscape of things and seeing all the holding companies merging, budgets going up, budgets going down. Advertising's notoriously a very up and down kind of industry.
Yeah.
And I was getting into my 40s and thinking like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to retire from here. And in fact, I've never seen one person retire from that business ever.
Interesting.
Yep, they just disappear. So
you saw a future that made you a little uncomfortable.
made me a little uncomfortable. And I thought, also it would just be really great to go back and like learn something different, expand my network. And so I started to look around at some different programs. How could I take my skills that I already have built over years and years in my career and apply them somewhere else and see where that goes?
Were you looking for something a little different, or did you want to enhance what you've been doing?
I was looking for something, well, yes and yes, I suppose.
Okay.
My job was very specific, write television ads, come up with a creative concept like Don Draper and Mad Men. And there's really only that's where I would do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but along with that, I developed other skills that, communication skills, some strategic thinking skills, some, writing skills, obviously. And so I wanted to be able to build on those skills that I already have and then transition into something else. So take my skills, enhance them, find out where else I can apply them in something that I would be interested in that I want to do for the next 20 years of my career.
Did you see AI as something that you needed to be looking at?
Yes, I did.
And what did you think?
Yes, well, in advertising, AI is just going crazy. I mean, this is a whole industry of people who write and who create art. We have illustrators, we have art directors, we have designers, and now AI is starting to be able to do those things. So it's really going to create, I think, it's going to be shrinking creative departments, and it will be requiring people to supervise AI, I suppose. So I was lucky in that I'm higher up by the time that hit.
Yeah.
But still, it's changing everything. And so that was another thing that I was really thinking about because I don't, at the time I didn't know a lot about it.
And were you wondering how you would manage it?
I was wondering how I manage it. And I also looked around and saw that the leadership in our industries, they were just, they were scrambling just as much as everyone else. I didn't see a lot of leadership around how to manage it. So I think, since that time and now, obviously a lot has changed. People are learning, people are figuring out how it's going to be used or not used in their industries, and they're going to be continuing to learn. But that was definitely something on my mind as a writer, as a creator, that I needed to get ahead of.
Some of the things that I was thinking about in terms of going back to school is the idea that it can be a catalyst for your career transformation, which you're illustrating in your story. Leadership development, you mentioned that as well. And perhaps increased earning potential would be nice as well. With many employers that are now preferring master's degrees positions that were previously held by bachelors, do you see that shifting in our market?
for our program specifically, we focus on full-time working professionals who want to either up their game or change their game, right? So they want to up their skills, learn something new, or transition like I did into something kind of different. And, we have found in our program that I think we did a survey a couple of years ago where 74% at that time reported having earnings of over $100,000 a year after earning their master's. So that's, that was great. And then additionally, we have also done research at the U to ensure we are teaching the skills that recruiters or, organizations nationwide are looking for. And the goal, strategic communication is rising in importance. I think, again, with the onset of AI is something it's going to be really important to be able to see, the broad vision of everything that's happening within an organization, and that skill is going to be very valuable moving forward, in my opinion.
There may be people that don't have a background in creativity of the advertising market that may come to you for other reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But they want to get the degree, but they may not have the experience where they're looking toward to get into this new field.
Mm-hmm.
Does the degree help with closing some of that experience gap and give you opportunities to think about where you can go and what you can do?
Absolutely. So in my situation, I would say not a lot of creative people. I was the only advertising person in my cohort. The cool thing about this program and what ended up leading to one of my favorite parts of it is that people came from all different backgrounds. So we all communicate. I'm sure a lot of us touch on that in our jobs or careers, or maybe not. Mm-hmm. But this program is for people who are already working, who want to shift something. Maybe they already work in communications and they want to move up. Maybe, like me, they wanted to shift. Mm-hmm. And people bring all different kinds of backgrounds, all different kinds of reasons. One of the parts of my job is to talk to people who are interested in potentially doing this program. And one is he's an engineer, and he has risen up through the ranks in his organization as an engineer. And he realized that his communication skills were not as strong as his engineering skills. And he really wanted to learn how to do that in a better way, especially as he was moving up in leadership. So, that's no communication experience. And he was he's already getting an MBA, and he wanted to come and transition into this program as well. So people come from all different backgrounds for this, and I liked that because that showed me that these skills are going to be applicable to a lot of different organizations or industries, and also I was going to meet a lot of very interesting and different types of people. So,
are you seeing older students coming back?
Yes. So that is a trend that is happening, actually. So have you heard of the enrollment cliff?
I have not, but I am dying to hear.
All right. So it's been in the news a little bit, so maybe some of your listeners have heard of this, but essentially people are having less children, right? So at some point, there's just not going to be enough kids to be enrolling in undergraduate education. There's just not going to be enough people, and that's a worldwide thing that's happening. But what people are seeing are a lot of adults going back to school mid-career to upskill, to shift around, to learn more things, to expand their network. Adult learners are a really growing part of the education system. Community colleges are also reporting higher enrollment of adult students as well, so people really wanting to learn some hard skills that are going to be directly applicable to their jobs, to their careers. So yes, a lot of adults are coming back to school.
You wrote a blog recently.
Yes, I'm working on the blog. Yes.
It's coming out. Looking at someone who was young and someone who was older.
Yes.
And how they were approaching getting this degree. Tell me more about that.
Yes. So
as a preview to your blog.
Yes. So one of the things that I love the most about our program is that it is a cohort. So that means you go through the whole 2-year program with the same group of people, and you really get to know each other. And again, they come from all different backgrounds. And two of the people in my cohort, Madison and Lissa, I would say Madison was the youngest member of our cohort, and Lissa was the most experienced of our cohort. And she's had her own communications consultancy. She had worked very high up in some of the big companies that are located here in the Twin Cities. And they Lissa ended up getting a job, transitioning from her consultancy, getting hired full-time at one of those giant companies. And she, through the program, had seen Madison's talent. She had seen that Madison was, she was motivated and driven and great, and she actually was able to bring Madison in to her company. And so now they are colleagues, and Lissa has become a mentor to Madison. So I was interviewing them for this blog. One thing that I'm trying to do is tell more of these very interesting stories from our alumni. And so I just interviewed them a couple days ago. And yeah, they are, there's like a mentor-mentee relationship that happened because they were met in this program. And there are a lot of stories like that as well. I mean, you go through this thing for 2 years with people and you really get to know them. We all went to a cat's birthday party together. So it's fun.
Networking sounds
Yes.
like it is huge.
Huge.
And are some of the networking opportunities waking people up to opportunities that they hadn't thought about before?
Yes, 100%. So that was one of the main reasons that I chose this program, because I wasn't sure exactly where I would land. I knew I had some skills, but I didn't know where to put them. And, I only had access to my advertising network. I have a very deep network in that industry, but other ones, no. So that was the thing that I really wanted to know. I liked that within the cohort itself, you're going to have that network, right? And in my cohort alone, we had the two I just talked about. I have someone who works at the Department of Natural Resources and Pollution Control Agency. I have people that work at the University of Minnesota, I have people that work at a financial services company, all different types of areas that I can call on. In addition, the program brings in a lot of guest speakers that you're really able to connect with. So there was one class in particular that had a new speaker every week, and I definitely followed up with them. I had coffee with them. I learned, what is it like to be the vice president of marketing at Serve Minnesota? I've never worked in a nonprofit. Or what is it like to be a chief marketing officer? What is it like to own an ad agency? I know you, but I didn't know you in this way,
And it helped you not only with your education, but continuing your networking for your career at large.
100%. But there's even more than that. So the guest speakers, the program also hosts 2 events a year that it's just a lot of alumni come back for these events, and a lot of higher up people as well. It's a great way to talk to folks. And one of my goals, now that I'm working for the program, which is so weird, is to make more of those opportunities for people to get together after they finish the program. So we did a negotiation workshop a couple months ago. We're planning a couple more for the rest of the year. But yeah, it's huge in networking, and that was a big part of it for me, because I know how hard it is to build up a network. I've done it. And I wanted to have kind of a built-in network sort of waiting for me with the full might of the University of Minnesota and that name behind me. And that was one of the most valuable things that I got out of this education.
When you went into this program, you probably had some assumptions about what it was going to be. And then when you got into it, my guess is you had some aha moments and revelations of like, I thought it was going to be this, but this is really why I love it and want to be here.
Yeah, I would say that cohort was a big one. I theoretically knew that it was a cohort going into it, and I didn't really think much about it. And then that turned out to be just so powerful. Like, we laughed together, we commiserated together. I was a little nervous going into it, actually, because, when I started, I was 43, and I thought, oh my gosh, like, is this going to be a bunch of kids? Like, am I going to be just so out of touch? Our program was hybrid. Now it's a fully online program, but when we were doing it, it was hybrid. And I went out and bought 3 new pairs of jeans that I thought were trendy so I could look cool, and like not my normal sweatpants at home. But it was not even an issue. Like, all different ages, everyone got along great. So that was something. I think also just getting used to being back into the school mindset. I graduated undergrad in 2003, so it's been a while for me. And having to start to learn new concepts and having, getting back to academic reading and learning all this new stuff, it just woke up my brain. I could feel the gears shaking off those cobwebs and slowly starting to turn. That was really great and exciting. And a lot of it in this program was, before I went into it, they told me that I would be able to apply it to my work almost the next day. And I was like, okay,
Sure.
sure, right. But I did, I mean, it's amazing how a communication theory course can actually apply to what you were doing at your job. I did not expect that.
Was there something in particular that you can share that happened the very next day?
Well, there was a research and insights class where we learned about really proper ways to do research. And like as someone who works in advertising as a creative, I get a creative brief that has research in it, and or people do research who then put it in the creative brief. And I was able to, after learning how you can interpret data in different ways, asking a lot smarter questions about the information that was in those briefs, to the point where the people were like, where did this come from? What do you mean?
Why are you
asking this? But like, if you're asking the right questions, and that's actually another thing that they teach, is how to ask the right question. But if you're asking the right questions, you get a lot better information, and then your output, for me as a creative, my output was a lot stronger when I was able to push back. And now that I knew a little bit about this, I could ask some specific questions and get even better information that I could then apply to my work. So,
for someone that may be coming in, is there an advice that you would give once they've applied, they're accepted, they're now going to start this adventure? What would be your advice?
For this program, I would say advice is to just go in with an open mind. Like, everyone was nervous. We talked to my cohort. Everyone was nervous coming in, and then immediately everyone was like, there's nothing to be nervous about. There's a lot of support, not only at the institutional level at the U, but also just among each other. So you can feel really good about that. I would also say you will get out of it what you put into it. And I think that's just a general life lesson, right? Like, if you really work hard and really try to, apply those learnings as much as possible, you're going to get a lot out of it. And then finally, I would say have a schedule. It was a scary, not even scary, I shouldn't say that, but the first semester, once I was like, what have I done? It was like after I got a puppy, like the amount of hours. Like, whoa, no, what have I done? Where did my weekend go?
Although you love the puppy.
I love the puppy. But when I first got that puppy, I was like, oh no, I've made a huge mistake.
That's a lived reality.
Yes.
What's the new lived reality now?
Yeah, and so it is a new lived reality. You have to rethink your schedule, your off time. It helps if you have that support behind you, like, with a spouse or a partner, or making sure, your kids or your work, letting your work know. And I was able to set out a schedule, like, okay, Wednesday nights, this is what I do, Saturday mornings, and really stick to that.
Yep.
After the first semester, I got into that rhythm. And then the bonus was that after the 2 years were up, suddenly I felt like I had all the time in the world. It was great to have that time back. But yeah, I would say, like, be realistic, like just understand that it's going to be a time commitment.
And make that commitment.
Yes.
Well, we're going to talk more about getting into school. What does it take to make those applications? What's the finance? A little bit about that, and some of the lived reality of taking that jump into the University of Minnesota. So you're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and we're on Connections Radio Show. And we'll be back to talk about going back to school. Is that something that you're thinking about? It's something to consider. And we'll be right back after a few short commercials. Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm Laurie Fitz, and our topic today is looking at the opportunities at the University of Minnesota for students to return and learn, which we found out in the last segment is something that a lot of students are doing. And we have Janelle Erickson, who is the Senior Marketing and Recruitment Specialist, and she represents the Masters in Strategic Communication program at the Hubbard of Journalism and Mass Communication.
That's right.
Welcome, Janelle.
Thanks.
Thank you for being here. We heard a little bit in our last segment about how you decided to go back to school and how you're now encouraging others to be thinking about it. We also touched on some of the reasons that you were looking at it was AI related, as well as what does the future look like in advertising?
Mm-hmm.
And what career opportunities are there perhaps outside of just the strict advertising world? And you shared that there's a lot of folks that don't have even advertising background, but do want to have strategic communications.
Yes, yes. People come to this program from all different areas. It's not just advertising. That's just my story. In one of the cohorts that's just started in January, there's a Catholic priest, for example, trying to, really learn how to better connect with the people in his parish. I'm not Catholic, but yeah. But yes, so it's people come from everywhere.
And there are skills that you gain that you might not find on the job. So, specialized knowledge that's in demand for research and critical thinking skills can sometimes be acquired better through the graduate program rather than just like experience in your work.
Yeah, I think so. I think education is always going to be valuable. There's so much to learn. There's so many programs out there, even just at the U, but we're very lucky to be in the Twin Cities where we have so many wonderful higher education opportunities. You can learn, leadership management. You can learn nursing. You can do all of these different things. So, like for this program, for example, I was going kind of vacillating between this and maybe an MBA. Mm-hmm. An MBA to me felt very specific, and I wasn't sure I wanted to go that route. I wanted to explore maybe public relations, maybe communications, maybe something else. Who knows, And so in this program, they do cover a lot of different areas, and some that I had some insight into already based on what I've done for 20 years, and some were a little new to me, like crisis communications, for example. That was something that we had a whole class on that I had no exposure to.
And big in PR.
Yes, big in PR. And I learned that's not for me.
It's a tough one, that's for sure. You talked in our last segment a little bit about how the cohorts and the networking was really important to you. And that's with your fellow students. But I'm assuming that your relationship with professors, industry, expert faculty, diverse alumni networks can also help with your real world experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
In getting back to career opportunities.
And this program is a little different too because it is not a full-time, graduate program where you're looking to move forward into academia, although there are, even within the Hubbard School programs for that. This one is specifically for working professionals for applied learning. So that means most of the professors are working professionals and they're out, they know what people are hiring for, they know what's happening. And that means that's another network, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the people who's teaching our kind of a business essentials for communicators class, he's a 40-year veteran of companies like Medtronic and General Mills and Honeywell. So he really knows a lot about business, and then we have people who we're from Best Buy. We have a VP of corporate comms at Dairy Queen. We have someone who was at Mayo Clinic for many years. So that's really great as well because it's all about me, selfishly for me.
Well, this show especially, this is all about you.
But, it's great because if you are interested in these kinds of roles, again, like you already have an established relationship with someone who is working in the field. They can introduce you to people if if you would like them to. They can give great advice, and it was so very valuable. And that's actually how I ended up getting hired at the U. I was expecting to go corporate side, honestly, by the end of this. And, one of my professors was like, "Hey, what if you stayed here and worked
here?
We
like you."
Yeah. I was like, okay,
Join our team.
Did not even consider it at first. So, you never know where those opportunities are going to come up. And then in addition, at the Hubbard School, we have a full-time career counselor as well. So that person is there. They send out a weekly email with jobs related to like any kind of comms, PR, this field in general, marketing as well. And then they're also there to help support with things like resume tailoring and interview prep and things like that. So there's a lot of support and a lot of opportunities for you to expand your network and to get in contact with people that you might not otherwise have done with just your own network.
And I think that would be very attractive to the working professional.
Yes.
Some of the fears might be, I just don't know if I can go back and just do academia.
No.
After X number of years out of being in the field, and is that really for me? But it sounds like you do a nice balance.
Yeah, I think at this level, it's all about the 3 C's, right? It's cost, convenience, and career. Those are the 3 that most of our students are thinking about, and that was certainly true for me as well. Is this going to, is this investment of time and money going to pay off for me? Can I do it and still have my job? Do it with the job. Is it convenient? And then how will this help my career? And those are 3 things that we really focus on as well, like making sure that we give you all the opportunity to get that ROI on your investment of time and money.
And it's flexible.
Yeah, this is a fully online program. For our program, the classes are every Tuesday and Thursday from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. So most people, in a 9-to-5 job, if those exist anymore, you can log on and take classes online. There's a summer class that is asynchronous, so you can just complete that coursework in a set amount of time and take advantage of our lovely summer evenings, So yeah, this one is specifically built for working professionals.
Which is terrific, because I also think that folks may assume going back to school that they're going to have to choose between their career or education.
There was someone in my cohort who not only was she working full-time, then she bought a house, got pregnant, and had a baby throughout the whole thing.
Oh, my.
Yeah, and then she was the first one to finish her capstone at the end. But she was a former journalist, actually. Uh-huh. So she's very deadline-driven, and we were all very impressed.
We'll do a shout-out.
Yeah, Rose, great job.
So as you're looking at how the program perhaps bridges between the academic theory and industry application, tell me more about how it looks at the multi-market out there and an organizational strategy.
Yeah, so I can talk a bit about some of the classes that we have and what they span. So I talked a little bit earlier about the research and insights. This is really learning how to do appropriate qualitative and quantitative research and how to interpret that data, and as a communicator use that for whatever messages you're trying to send. There's that business essentials class where you really learn about how organizations are structured, financed, how you, as a communicator in this case, can work with your leadership to really be valuable to that leadership, how to interact with them, what is your place in all this whole system. And actually that is a class that came directly out of a strategic advisory board meeting. So we do also have a strategic advisory board made up of leaders across industries, mainly in the Twin Cities, and they meet twice a year. They go over the curriculum, and they tell us what they are looking for when they are hiring.
Nice.
Yes. And
insights.
Insights, yes. And so that business, learning a little bit more about how businesses are run and structured, was something that they had requested. And
a big question always, what are they looking for? What should I tell them that I do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so our program is always evolving, based on those discussions and as well as what's happening just, in the world, for example, with AI. What are we teaching? Is it still relevant? Is this going to be relevant for people who are mid-career and looking to upskill? So yeah, there's business class. There's a branding class. I nailed that one from advertising. There's a leadership development class. That was my favorite. It was really all about how to develop yourself as a leader, no matter what your job title is, and then how you can better engage with your leadership. That was the asking the right question class.
Managing up.
Managing up is a lot. It was, again, the crisis communications class. There's a writing focus class. There's an applied learning one where you work with your cohort to create a full strategic communication plan from research all the way to execution for a real client, and then you present to that real client. So you're really engaging with, real people, not just theory. But there is also that theory class that was very interesting as well. So those are some of the classes that we take, and they span a lot of areas, but they also give you a lot of different types of skills that you now have this toolkit in your back pocket. Well, these are all terrible metaphors, but yes. You can pull them out based on what you're finding at your job, what you need to learn for this project. Oh, you need someone to lead up this thing? Well, I know how to do that. Let me raise my hand, and there you go. Now you're on your way to moving up.
Tell me what a capstone is.
I'm not an academic, but I'm going to say it in what I understand it to be. Mm-hmm. So, in a lot of these more academic programs, you have a thesis, right? Mm-hmm. And this is not that. This is a project. This in our course, it is the final project that you do. It's a self-study. And essentially it's the culmination of everything that you've learned in the program. So for us, that's the final project. You pick any organization you want. Most people pick the organization that they work for if they're trying to especially move up.
Sure.
And you do a full strategic communication plan from, again, research all the way to execution. Everything you've learned over the past 2 years, you put into that. And you can also tailor it based on what your needs are for your goals, right? So, for example, one of my cohorts really, her organization was very much lacking a crisis communication plan. And so she made her capstone like a whole justification and plan for crisis comms, which they have now put into effect at her organization. Yes.
So real world application.
Absolutely. And I mean, we've had people who, someone used it a couple of years ago to basically write their own job description. They worked at the school district.
I love that.
Yeah.
Not self-serving at all.
Yeah, they gave themselves a job. Like, here's this role. Here's all the research saying like why this is important. And
advocated for their
they
own
advocated for themselves. They created a role, and this was in a school district. This is a few years ago. For me, because I was looking to transition out of ad agencies, I found throughout this process, I really do love brand strategy. I still do love like marketing and that kind of thing. So I did a full brand strategy and marketing plan for a small business that my friend runs in Colorado. So that was great as well. So I was able to take a lot of the skills that I learned from my career, a lot of the skills I learned from this program, and put them to use. That again, they're using.
What I also like is that you said early on that it was something that you were considering to go and get an MBA.
Mm-hmm.
And what you did as a capstone essentially would be what you would want from someone who has an MBA.
100%. And, no shade to MBA. Like, I might still get an MBA, but I've worked with a lot of MBAs. So that was another reason I'm like, well, I like the storytelling aspect of communications. I like that it's not just hard focus on numbers and data and results. I like the humanity that comes along with an MA. Mm-hmm. And that was a big reason as well why I chose this program over an MBA. Although never say never, I might, go back and do that. But
Sure.
But yeah, it's like really focusing on like the storytelling and how you can bring it all together to really accomplish whatever the goals are of your organization or yourself, in my opinion.
And now you're part of this organization
Yeah.
that you were learning from.
Yes.
And you're part of looking for the future and
Yes.
visioning. And one of the questions I had for you is about a vision that you want to build for the alumni.
Yes. We have such an impressive group of alumni. There's about 400, I think, now. This program's been around for 20 years. Mm-hmm. And they are doing some of the coolest stuff. But we don't talk about, in my opinion, we don't talk about it enough. So, and also, too, our alumni are people that are always learning. They like to learn. They took this step and they invested in themselves, and they want to keep going. So one of my goals, and that we've been working with the people of the program, is to give even more opportunities for alumni to get together and keep learning. So, I think I mentioned the negotiation skills workshop a couple months ago. We're working on maybe an AI-focused workshop for our alumni as well. We are thinking about always, updating networking. Like if you want to brush up on those networking skills, maybe there's a workshop for that. So we're brainstorming a lot of different ways where we can keep bringing them together outside of the two main events, the Spring Forum and the Fall Forum, where everyone, a lot of people do come and get together. But I also am just excited to tell alumni stories. Like there's someone who was the graduation speaker at my commencement. Her name is Ethelind Kaba, and you should maybe talk to her, actually. But she's the executive director of the Anne Bancroft Foundation. Mm-hmm. She is a graduate of this program. And she is so impressive. She immigrated here from Ghana and really just like worked so hard to earn her degrees coming from, nothing really. Mm-hmm. And now she got her undergrad at Hamlin. She did this master's in strategic communication program, and she is now the executive director of this amazing nonprofit. Mm-hmm. So impressive. And that's just like one story. We've had people who, I talked to someone who she was at a candle company and doing quality control. And the only way for her to move up in that organization is to get an engineering degree. And she said, no, not for me. She did this program. Halfway through the program, she was able to take those skills and transition them to a job in the comms department at Target before they went, before. And then after the program, she was promoted and up to a senior person in Medtronic. So that was just within 2 years. She went from quality control to this. So, it's these kinds of stories are really interesting, and I think really show the breadth of what our our graduates are doing, and then just keeps people in touch and keeps people inspired.
What I love is that you're looking for the continuing education for the alumni, but I have to believe the people coming into the program that can also network with the alumni must be an amazing opportunity as well, just to see where they've gone and what they've done and be able to ask them, how did they do it?
Yeah, that was me. I mean, that was exactly what I was doing. And I would ask my instructors who had been teaching it for a while, like, can you think of anyone else that's gone through this program that I could talk to about this? Oh, I'm interested. Again, the nonprofit thing, like, I've never worked at nonprofit. Oh, I'm interested in learning more about that. Like, who do you know that I can talk to? One of the reasons I even heard about this program is because I have two friends that did it. One was in cohort 3, and just to tell you, I was cohort 19. One was cohort 3, one was cohort 7. They both do different things. One of them is a director of strategy at an ad agency and just crushing it. And one is like high up at some, I'm not going to say the name of the company, but like a Fortune 10, doing brand strategy globally, like global brand strategy for that company. Yeah, and she started out as an account person in advertising, actually. Did a full career transition. But like talking to all these alumni, another one I just talked to who's now the new, I think he's the executive director of Loaves and Fishes, Minnesota, and he just moved back here from LA to run that organization as well. There's just so many really interesting people doing really great things in this program, and I want to bring it all out and tell more of these stories because I find it fascinating, all the different paths that people took from the same degree.
And where they are now. And coming back. I mean, that's the lovely sense of all of it, is that you're building a community that had shared experience and cares about the next community coming up.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's what we like to talk about here on Connections Radio Show, here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. And you're learning about opportunities at the University of Minnesota. We're looking especially at the master's program with strategic communications. And if people want more information on that, how would they look that up?
Yes. Well, on the U of M website, if you look up Master's in Strategic Communication, it will take you to the Hubbard School of Journalism's page, and you'll see it, Professional MA in Strategic Communication. On that page, there's a button that says Attend an Info Session. We are actually having an information session, a virtual one, on June 10th, so that's this Wednesday at noon. So you can register for that on the website, and it will be me and one of our instructors as well, taking you through kind of more of the details of the program itself. Additionally, there's also a button on how you can reach out to a program representative as well. Or you can fill out a form and someone will reach out to you and we can have a one-on-one conversation.
Sounds terrific. And in our next segment, we'll talk a little bit more about, well, what do I do for my next step after I go, okay, I've listened to this program, I've checked in, I've had a one-to-one, and I'm like, yeah, I think this is what I want to do. What are those next steps? And we'll be talking about that in our last segment of Connections Radio Show, talking about I want to go back to school. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm Laurie Fitz, your host, and today we are talking about opportunities to go back to school at the University of Minnesota. Are you interested in returning and learning some things? I have to say I am. I have to say I'm one of those and thinking about going back to school. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring Janelle Erickson on today was my own interest. And Janelle is the Senior Marketing and Recruitment Specialist, and she represents a Master's in Strategic Communication, and that's at the Hubbard School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of Minnesota. Thank you, Janelle, for being with us today.
Yes, it's been great.
It's great to have you. Great to look at all the different opportunities. I love that you do represent strategic communications, but that's just one of many opportunities that students can go back and have a chance to either rethink about their career, or maybe it's just because they want to learn. Mm-hmm. There are those of us that love learning, and just the opportunity to go back and have classes that remind us of X number of years ago. And why not? Why not have that active brain? So if you've listened to the program here, audience, and you go, oh, this sounds interesting. I am an older adult. I would like to go back and perhaps get considered for the next level in my career. Or I just want to be back at the university because I remember so many wonderful days being at the university. What does someone need to do to take that next step? What's the admissions and logistics? A little bit about that.
Well, very importantly, there's no GRE. And that was very important for me.
Yes.
I am not going to do that. For our program, I can speak to that. It's pretty straightforward. So we ask for transcripts from your undergrad. You need to have gotten a bachelor's degree to do this program. And I thought, gosh, I'm going to have to reach out to the University of Colorado because I'm sure it's etched onto a stone tablet somewhere. But it was actually very easy. Everything was digitized. They were able to send it over very quickly. A resume or CV, 3 letters of recommendation, one of those should be from someone in a supervisory role to you. A personal statement, just they'll give you a prompt, but if memory serves me, it's like, tell us about your career goals, what you might bring to the program, why you are interested in doing this program. My personal statement was just over 2 pages with 1.5 spacing, so it was not that long. And then up to 3 professional writing samples. And this is the one that kind of trips everyone up because they're like, well, what does that mean? I'm not a professional writer. And it really varies. It's very open because, again, people come to this from all different areas. So I mentioned that priest earlier. I think he maybe submitted some of his sermons. We have a photojournalist who is in the program. They submitted some of their projects that did not really have any writing. It was all visual,
Pictures.
It was pictures. For me, coming from advertising, I didn't have like a white paper or anything. So I submitted a television ad and a radio ad that I wrote. It was like, well, that's kind of long copy, I suppose. And a print ad I did for the Epilepsy Foundation in Minnesota that I worked on years ago. And people will put projects in that they worked on with colleagues. There's all different types. So the writing samples. And then once that is all in and it's reviewed by the 2 people that run our program, and it's a rolling admission. So you usually hear back within a couple weeks. Once every cohort is capped at 22 students for us. Mm-hmm. Once that is met, that's it. You can still apply. You can apply to start in January. For example, we have a cohort that starts in September and one in January. So the 22 student limit is great. You really get to know each other and the professors as well.
And how long does it take to finish the degree?
Our program is 2 years. It's very purposefully designed to be a 2-year program. But, again, we have so many different schools here in Minnesota. Like there are certainly programs out there where you can take a class here, a class there, drop in, drop out, go at your own pace. Some are in person, some are hybrid. Ours is online. There's something out there for everyone, and I think that's what's really cool about this, this day and age, right? Because we can find a program that's going to fit within our lifestyles. So I would say just go look, go see. Yeah, but this one is 2 years, and it will both go by very slowly and very, very quickly at the same time.
We were talking a little bit in break about how this is a good topic for Connections radio show. Tell me more about why you think this is important for folks that are interested in connections.
Yeah. Well, for me, this program has connected me with so many interesting people and people that I never would have met otherwise. And in communications specifically, like we love to connect. That is all, like people who are interested in this role in this industry are people that like other people and love to connect with them. But, I also think too, it doesn't have to just be this program. Like again, I have 3 people that I worked with in advertising who are now therapists, which, is another thing, but they're connecting, with their clients or connecting with a whole nother industry. Like
interesting that's a draw right now.
I know. Is it a sign? Should I go back to school? Should I do that? Yeah. But yeah, it's so great. Like it really is all about connection. And when you start a program like this, you're putting yourself out there. It's a little vulnerable. It's a little scary, but that really helps you come together with other people. And I have no regrets. I think the people are the best thing to come out of this program for me. I've learned a lot. Obviously I got a different job. I was able to make that career transition, but really it's this group of people that I know that I'll be able to call on for the rest of my career. And we're all meeting up for happy hour in a couple weeks.
You mentioned earlier about building the alumni network as part of your vision. Do you have other visions that you have for what you'd like to keep developing this program to be?
In my role, I'm more, I'm marketing and recruiting. It sounds so weird, I'm just talk to people just like you about my experience and see.
Tell your story.
Yeah, but the marketing part of it and the brand strategy part of it, my goal personally is to just bring more of those alumni stories to light. We do have a little LinkedIn spotlight page, the Masters in Strategic Communication program on LinkedIn. You should definitely check it out. That's where I'm going to be trying to post more of these types of stories, like the story of Lissa and Madison that I mentioned earlier. But yeah, that is my goal. I know our goal as a program is to be the most respected Masters in Strategic Communication program in the country. We want to bring in the top talent. We want to be on the cutting edge, especially of AI career readiness. That is something that we are laser focused on. We are always evolving our classes to ensure that we are teaching the most that we can that is known about AI and how to apply it in all these different ways. So that is something that the program is laser focused on. It is in development now. For me, I'm all about telling these stories and getting the word out to people to be inspired to come back to school either for this program or something else.
One of the first questions I asked you when we started the interview was a little bit more about AI. Do you want any last comments that you want to make about AI and AI in the future and how this program can support you in that?
Yeah, I mean, AI is like a big question mark, right? When I started in 2023, it was not a part of the program. And because it wasn't really, I think we maybe used it to interpret some data to help with that a little bit. But now it is being worked into every course. And it is something, again, as the technology evolves, that will evolve as well with the courses. So that's something that will always be kind of changing and updating based on the class. How do you use AI in a crisis communication situation versus how do you use it in research versus how do you use it in theory? All going to be very different, right? So that's something, again, that this program wants to ensure that is continuing to develop, as well as then how you can apply that to your role in whatever it is that you are doing. That's what they're calling AI career readiness, and that's something that they really want to invest in. So I think it's smart. It's here. We'll see how it all shakes out. But I think especially in the communications industry and marketing, it's having a huge impact. So we need to learn how to work with it.
And when you're talking about strategy,
yes,
it's all about what is the future and how to prepare for it.
Exactly.
I want to say one quick thing before we wrap up today, and that's a great thing at the University of Minnesota. Provides senior citizens with opportunities in higher education. If you are a Minnesota resident who are aged 62 or older, you may enroll in courses at the University of Minnesota for reduced costs. That means $20 per credit, which is wild.
Wow.
So it's off the chart wild and great. But there are other things as well. But college credit, you can audit it. You might just want to, sit in on classes. I learned about this because my dad, when he was in his 60s, went back and started taking classes. And it's why I originally called the university and said, is that still going? Because if it is, it seems like a great investment. So all that you need to register if you are 62 and older and you want to take advantage of this opportunity is your driver's license, a state ID, birth certificate. All these things are great. So look into that. It's right on the University of Minnesota's website, and it's a Minnesota state statute that allows you to take it for very inexpensive.
Jealous.
And you should be. And that's why I'm interested. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. We're glad you're here, and we want you to think about how about going back to school and getting some more education. It's fun, and you'll learn, and you'll network, and you might even make more money. So thank you for joining us today on the Connections Radio Show.